let's just go ahead and decide that whatever happens to the Chiefs is Taylor's fault.
Correct. The Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor's version.
I like that.
People are popular because they have attributes that people idolize. I mean, that person looks, I wish I could look like them. I wish I had their kind of personality. I wish I had their money. I wish I had their talents.
I think it's an interesting question. At what point do you become the mask you're wearing?
All I got to say to Travis is just wait, because next year, 2 years, 6 months, there's going to be an entire album about you.
Hello, and welcome to the Pop Culture Contrarian podcast with Thomas, Sterling, and Andrew.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
So, Taylor Swift is dating the football star, Travis Kelce. Thomas, why do people care?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Of course you don't know.
No.
Are you saying you don't care?
I don't. I truly don't care. But we're talking about it, so I'll have to try to care a little bit. I've never heard that I know of. I probably have heard, but I couldn't name a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
And I don't know. In my mind, she's a teeny bopper, even though I know that she's no longer a teenager, but that's how I conceive of her.
You're just too old, Thomas.
I am, yeah.
But we did play through a few of them, and we found one song that you recognized.
Yeah, I kind of recognized.
Like, Shake It Off.
Yeah,
so.
That was I think the only one I've...
Not necessarily her best song, but at least you recognized it. You knew one.
It just seemed to establish in my mind my preconceived notion of who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's kind of one that millennials have grown up with,
mm-hmm.
and to an extent Gen Zers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And really, she's transcended almost all the genres. You know, she started out with country music, and she's moved in kind of like a more rock and roll thing, electronic style, more pop. And she's made it up on the charts for practically everything you could imagine, and gone from kind of like the country teeny bopper thing to more and more serious music in some cases. I mean,
yeah, and she first became a star when she was a teenager.
That's right.
Yeah, and now she's 33 and still huge.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to grow up with somebody, that's probably why it's different for you, Thomas, because you don't have the same, hey, she was everywhere and popular stuff that was popular with young people at the time.
Right, our friends were all listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for either of you, would it be fair to say she is the most popular pop singer right now?
I don't know if she's the most popular right now, but she's
definitely one of the most popular.
Yeah. I think she definitely has one of those staying names. Like she has a staying power of kind of like Madonna. Like she's always going to be a household name, probably forever.
Right. Yeah. She's been a household name since she was a teenager, and there's no signs of that changing.
Yeah, like some people will come and go and be very popular, but will fade away. I don't think she ever will.
No. Yeah, I agree. And this tour that she's just either completed or is still finishing up.
The Eras Tour?
I think it's called the Eras Tour, yeah. And it's been one of the biggest musical tours of all time, I think.
Mm-hmm. One of the most expensive, too, I think.
Yeah. But she's got a dedicated fan base that some artists have that, some don't. But Taylor Swift definitely does. She maybe has the most dedicated fan base I can think of for a musician.
I think that's particularly evident in the Eras Tour because the whole idea was like dressing up as her character as she appears in all of her different albums.
Yeah, the outfits she's worn on different stages.
Yeah, you could probably see her like costumed as anywhere from her 14-year-old self or whatever, all the way up to her most recent album throughout her fan base.
Yeah. this is just kind of something funny that I've noticed. I've seen these videos of, because she's so big, she's just, you breathe her in without even meaning to. So I've seen all these videos of people making fun of her performance on stage, not really making fun, but making a joke about her performance on stage, where when she's introducing a song, they all have names that are kind of ordinary words in everyday life. So she'll just be telling some story about, the other day, you know, I got a bruise and I guess it was some bad blood, and then feeds into singing Bad Blood. So she does these kind of bad puns to introduce songs, apparently. And I only know that because of videos making fun of that.
You mean not from the last concert you went and saw?
If I was, in fact, at any of those concerts, I'm not going to admit it here.
Well, she seems to hold kind of a America's Sweetheart title, or at least she has.
Yeah.
At some point. And seems like she's maybe the 5th largest selling artist.
Yeah, that's what our research ahead of time showed, that she's, at least in certified sales, the 5th largest selling artist of all time in America.
Yeah.
Which is, with, I think, 260 million certified units sold.
So she's super popular, whether you like her or not.
So she's also, you know, part of why she's got this dedicated fan base is she's been at times kind of an underdog, which is weird. She's been famous since she was 16, super duper rich. How is she an underdog? Well, I'll tell the story the way I heard it. So apparently when she was a young artist, she, you know, was working with these production companies, because she obviously couldn't do that herself. And at one point, this guy, Scooter Braun, wanted to buy her music and like have the rights to it. And she wasn't really on board with that. But then when she left that production company, he managed to buy them from the rights from the production company. So what that meant was all her songs from then on, every time they're sold, part of the money of her music would go to this guy, Scooter Braun, who she detests, apparently. And so it was kind of like he threatened, I'm going to take your music, whether you want me to have it or not. And then he did it. So he's kind of this villainous character, and at least that's how her Swifties paint him. So she recently, in the past couple of years, re-released a lot of her old discography with, it's the same songs, but then there's little, in parentheses at the end, Taylor's version.
That is like the ultimate middle finger.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a great tactic, just to be like, okay, we're going to circumvent this guy.
And it's a way for true fans to say, oh yeah, I'm a true fan. I only listen to Taylor's version of the songs. Mm-hmm. So that's some of why people care about Taylor Swift. They also think she's a great artist and pretty and someone to strive to be like, I guess. But of course now, she's dating Travis Kelce.
That's the headline right now.
That's the headline. He is the latest in rather a long line of famous boyfriends.
Yep.
So she has dated, I have a list here. She's dated Joe Jonas, Taylor Lautner, John Mayer, Jake Gyllenhaal, Tom Hiddleston, and several others who I didn't recognize, but these are the ones I recognized. So, and that's all since Joe Jonas was in 2008, so to now, that's 15 years.
It's quite a few.
That's quite a few.
And so you wonder why she's dated all these people, or why a lot of times celebrities date all these people.
Yeah.
But just look at some of her songs and some of her albums. There are a lot of breakup songs.
There are a lot of breakup songs.
So you're telling me it's for material?
It's gotta be.
Well, some of it. I mean, certainly.
I gotta have something to sing about and write about.
Yeah.
I read a little excerpt about her formative years when she was learning how to write, and she was working with this woman. I can't recall her name, but apparently they still have a working relationship. Mm-hmm. When she was in high school still, and they would work on songwriting for 2 hours a week on Tuesdays or something like that.
Okay.
And apparently she would always just bring everything that happened to her at high school into these sessions, and
would just write it like her diary was her songs.
Yeah, exactly. So
if it works, it works,
yeah,
I guess.
Sure.
That does beg the question when, you know, you see Taylor Swift dating Tom Hiddleston, world famous movie star, and now Travis Kelce, 2-time Super Bowl winner. Are these relationships real?
I really don't know. It's a hard thing to say, especially because they're so short-lived.
Yeah.
And
one of her recent boyfriends was several years, but that's the only one on the whole list I found that was
Who was that?
a couple of years. I don't remember his name.
Oh, somebody.
It wasn't someone famous.
So the no-name guy lasted longer. Interesting.
that actually makes sense.
It does.
It does.
It does.
But
maybe he is famous, and I just generally don't know him. So if I offended somebody by not knowing his name,
Well, he's not super famous.
right?
He's not in Taylor Swift's league, evidently.
No, evidently not.
Yeah, it seems like they're more like business deals.
It does. It does kind of seem like that. And I also wonder if part of it is the nature of celebrity in America, where you have these paparazzi showing up when you go to buy groceries, and they're taking 10,000 pictures of you. So I would imagine if I was that famous, that I would give them something to look at, so I could do the stuff I really care about without their prying eyes. Mm-hmm. So I think some of it may be just, the paparazzi hasn't really had anything tasty regarding me recently, so I'm going to date someone famous so that they have stuff to write about, and my actual personal life can be left alone. Mm-hmm. That's my theory.
In some ways, too, just another theory is it is kind of an extension of high school in some ways, because it is a somewhat like exclusive group of people that all go to the same thing. They're in the same industry. They go to the same award ceremonies, and they all talk to each other. Yeah, certainly. So it's kind of just like that's their community.
How would Travis Kelce have run into Taylor Swift?
That is an interesting question. I know he has been doing some commercials recently. He was in a Bud Light commercial, so that's bad taste on his part.
Travis.
But yeah, I don't know how they would have connected, but I guess he's a multi-Super Bowl winner. She's one of the most famous people on the planet. It's not tremendously surprising that I guess, they could have run into each other at a party.
Yeah, but that's kind of how regular people meet. I mean,
well, famous people do throw parties for famous people.
We do. Yeah, they do. I'm just saying that it's by making the allegation or suggestion, maybe it's a better way to put it, that these relationships seem more like business deals than genuine relationships. That would, I think, raise the question of, well, how exactly did this happen?
Yeah, it could be that. There is, since you asked, it occurred to me, there is this specifically dating app just for famous people.
Yeah.
Called Raya. And so,
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, you have to.
You better get it on it, Sterling.
Famous. Oh, yes.
You better be on it.
Yeah.
Well, if I was on it, I wouldn't tell you guys. Clearly.
It's holding out.
Yeah. I'm just a little bit not quite rich and famous enough for that. I mean, okay. I'm close. Yeah. I'll get the invite soon.
It's happening.
Yeah. I definitely have to think some of these relationships are fake. Just some of them, like with Tom Hiddleston, it went from July they confirmed they're dating to September they're broken up. Like, that seems like it was done for a headline.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if that was true. If these were like deals like, hey, we're going to do this for this period of time, whatever.
One thing I did notice is that Travis Kelce is the first guy in this whole lineup that I saw who's actually kind of the big masculine man. The rest of these are artists, and they kind of have slender builds like you'd kind of expect an artist to have. So maybe she's maturing. Maybe she actually wanted a man. I don't know.
He's a real man.
Yep. All right. So, Thomas, maybe you can talk more about this since you don't care about Taylor Swift. And
okay.
I can't really blame you, even though I do. At least a little bit. Why do we Americans, why are we so obsessed with celebrity relationships?
Well, I'd go back one step and say our obsession with the relationships is because we're obsessed with celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's not unique to America. Obviously, celebrities exist the world over. But I think that there's this kind of a negative spin on it would be we all suffer from envy. We see popularity. People are popular because they have attributes that people idolize. I mean, that person looks, I wish I could look like them. I wish I had their kind of personality. I wish I had their money. I wish I had their talents. And, Travis Kelce's an example of that. And so I think it's kind of an expression of just envy, and more negatively, maybe more positively, it's our kind of a way of living vicariously through others. You know,
I would probably skew towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of why we care about celebrities. Yeah.
The vicarious living. Like
Yeah.
imagining yourself doing all those things.
Right.
But there's also, I think, got to be the aspect of, I mean, you see it with sports teams as well, where you latch on to someone early, before they're really famous. You're like, oh, I saw them in this movie for their first appearance in a movie, and I liked them then, and then I followed them from then on, and now they're George Clooney, or whatever.
That's
So
kind of like
I get some of that credit because I was a fan that whole time.
that's a parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
That's an interesting
unusual
type of
term.
relationship.
Yeah.
That's an unusual term, Andrew. Can you break it down real quick?
Yeah, parasocial relationship is where you feel like you know this person, like they're your friend because you've been through things with them. Of course, they don't know who you are.
Right.
But you've seen them, and the example you said, like George Clooney, for example, if you were to have known about him in his early years, you've seen, oh, I knew about him before he was really famous or when he was in this first small-time role or whatever. And it's almost like if you had a friend who went on to do big and great things in reality, you'd be like, oh, they were my friend back in the day.
When.
Yeah, I knew him when. And it's the same kind of idea, except the difference is you know who they are.
And they don't even know you exist.
They don't even know you exist. That's
Which
parasocial.
I don't know why that's called a parasocial relationship. That's been my relationship with every girl my whole life.
Sterling, dang it, man.
Brutal.
Brutal.
So yeah, there is, I think, the aspect where you get some of the credit, but celebrity relationships in general, the fascination there kind of baffles me. I think y'all don't have to agree with me. I think it's kind of a more feminine interest, knowing who they're dating, following, the ups and downs of the relationship. And then certainly with Swifties, they really, really care when these breakups happen. And they're like, oh yeah, I loved him 2 weeks ago, but now they're broken up and he's a horrible person and blah, blah, blah.
I think that's probably a more feminine idea. Like feminine traits frequently are more like caring about people and relationships, and male traits tend to be more about things and resources. Yeah.
And
accomplishments.
Yeah.
Gossip isn't uniquely feminine.
No.
Everyone likes gossip, but it is kind of it's a magnified version of the small town gossip where it's, everyone knows these two people. And so you talk about them and then they break up and it's messy and there's clothes on the lawn or whatever. And you talk about that because it's just interesting. And these celebrities let people all over the country do that.
Parasocial gossip.
Well, in one sense, they wouldn't even, that's kind of part of being a celebrity.
Yeah.
I think kind of what you're saying, that they are kind of they're not how they're projected or how they're presented, how we see them in their public persona. Is not really who they are.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, I think that is actually an interesting question because at a certain point, the persona, if you've lived in that persona for however many hours, say you live in that persona effectively for half of the year, are you really saying that they were not themselves for that half of the year? I think it's an interesting question. At what point do you become the mask you're wearing?
Just ask Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
That was
I think
a sad reference.
It's interesting. I think that there is that it's that question, are they who they're projecting themselves to be, or is that who they are?
Yeah.
Probably depends.
Yeah. I think there are things obviously that are not genuine. But that's not unique to celebrities. That's all of us. We do have things we project to the public that people who know us in private recognize that
that's not true.
That's not necessarily true.
Like Thomas's wife in Canada.
Yeah.
Girlfriend in Canada.
Well, everybody has 3 lives. You have your public life.
Okay.
And you have your private life. And then you have your secret life.
Oh.
Your internal life.
Yeah. And so public obviously is, your work, your school, your church, whatever, your business.
People you see in a casual setting who aren't really friends,
right,
or maybe not even acquaintances.
Then personal is going to be close friends, family, and then secret, or that would be your private life. And secret life is just inside your head. That's all.
Yeah. Internal.
Who you are just in your internal dialogue.
So what you're saying is, if I want to know you two better, I have to crack open your skulls.
Yep.
I don't think that would do it there, Sterling.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll scrap that.
By the way, I
There
learned
go my weekend plans.
I learned about that from a allegedly ex-CIA operative.
Oh, allegedly.
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 He was on another podcast, though, another parasocial relationship.
I see.
How many of those do you have?
That was as many as anyone else does.
Yeah, we've got a lot. So this whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing, there's been this very funny trend where girlfriends will film themselves going up to their boyfriends who are just doing something, completely unrelated. And they're like, wow, did you hear Taylor Swift is making this guy Travis Kelce famous? He's just like some nobody football player, and now he's dating Taylor Swift, the most famous woman in the world, and now he's famous.
Oh my gosh.
And all the boyfriends react just like that.
Just like that.
And they yell, he's a 2-time Super Bowl winner.
I know. It's like he was famous before Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah. And, winning a Super Bowl, that's pretty much peak for an athlete. You can't get too much more famous than that.
Right.
So this is a top tier set of people, top tier couple, I guess.
A power couple?
A power couple, indeed.
Maybe.
Yes.
For a hot minute at least. And, and that's the question, right?
Yeah.
How long will this relationship last?
Well,
Yeah.
all I got to say to Travis is just wait, because next year, 2 years, 6 months, there's going to be an entire album about you. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay.
There probably will be.
Well,
Unfortunately, that does seem to be the trend.
Prediction for name of album. Anyone?
Oh, boy. Hard hit.
Foul.
Foul. Oh, boy. So just this whole fascination with these celebrities reminds me of a country that kind of has institutionalized this whole concept of celebrities that everyone knows and everyone follows their relationships. And that's not how it started, but England with the royalty, that's what they do. And, I think we can all name at least two wives we can all name 2 wives of King Charles. Everyone can. Princess Diana and now Queen Camilla.
Mm-hmm. Who?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I did blank on her name for a second.
Yeah.
But, oh, well. We're not supposed to like Camilla anyway, right?
This is America.
Is she actually a queen?
Yeah, I know her title is Queen something officially now. It wasn't supposed to be, but I guess once you're the king, no one can say no anymore.
No.
But she's common.
Yes. She's common and American, and was she a divorcee?
Camilla is American?
No, she's not American.
No, she's Brit.
I'm mixing her up with a
Meghan
different...
Markle, who is nothing now.
Yeah.
That's true. Is she?
I think
they still kind of, even though they renounce the titles, I think they still sort of have them to some degree, which is weird.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to such things, even though I should, considering it's a pop culture.
Yes, it is. You got to know more about this stuff. When they go and complain on Oprah about how hard their life is in their big old mansion, you should know about it.
It's more important than the debates.
It's, definitely more important than this debate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been an interesting little discussion. So what have we talked about today, guys?
Well, Taylor Swift, her rise to fame, I guess.
Yeah.
What she represents to so many people, kind of America's sweetheart.
She is kind of the local girl made good, especially around here because she's from this area, not Chattanooga, but
yeah.
I mean,
originally Pennsylvania, but
she spent a lot of time in Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think she feels like the girl next door, kind of.
Sure. And a lot of us grew up with her. Not all of us, obviously, but if you're a millennial or a Gen Zer, you grew up with her.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody else who's older, probably your kids or your grandkids grew up with her.
Yeah, yeah. We were talking to a coworker who had just driven his daughters to a concert recently.
Right.
So
yeah,
she's one of the biggest stars of all time. And we left out maybe the most famous Taylor Swift story of all for anyone who doesn't already know this story.
Kanye.
You want to hit us, Thomas?
I just remember seeing the clip about.
Okay, so at Grammys, I think it was, back in like 2009 when she was first really hitting the stage. It was her and Beyonce up for the Grammy, and Taylor Swift won. And so she went up there, and then this is the first time I ever heard of Kanye West. And of course now this behavior seems totally in line with the rest of his behavior.
Yeah.
She goes up on stage, gets the microphone. Kanye West runs up, grabs it, says, "I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce should have won." And it was a huge deal. It was bigger than the slap between Will Smith and...
It's an eternal meme.
That's a moment that will probably live forever.
Yeah.
In infamy in the celebrity world as... Well, that's a bad analogy, I guess. But anyhow.
Yeah.
Well,
Sterling.
it is. That is how it goes down. That is how it's remembered.
It's now that she's,
probably now that she's famous forever.
Forever and one of the biggest stars on the planet. It's kind of a little footnote anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But he is also one of the biggest stars on the planet. So yeah,
I do think I remember at the time it was like she was this kind of young rising, starlight, and it was kind of Kanye was looked down on because it was like, oh, look how he crushes this little girl's dreams kind of deal.
Right. And that's, I think, part of what kind of generated her loyal fan base, where she's, in some sense, even despite being always successful, she's been an underdog.
Always.
Yeah, she does have that underdog persona.
Yeah. So that's, we've talked about Taylor, we've talked about her boyfriends, we talked very little about Travis Kelce.
Will they win another Super Bowl this year?
The
Chiefs.
I think they're doing okay so far.
And
I guess
will it
they
be because
lost
of
that
Taylor?
first game, but
It might be that she better not break up with him before the Super Bowl.
that's what I was seeing was that the relationships always last like 6 weeks or something. That'll be like right at a bad time.
When it's time for the Super Bowl and lost.
And we'll know who to blame.
Yep.
So if the Chiefs lose this season, you know to blame Taylor Swift.
Blame Taylor Swift for
Yes.
One way or the other, right? He could be too distracted.
Yeah,
or
if they lose,
he could be
and they're still
mourning a
together.
breakup.
Let's just go ahead and decide that whatever happens to the Chiefs is Taylor's fault.
Correct. The Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor's version.
I like that. Oh my God. Oh gosh.
All right. Well, that's our podcast for today. This has been the Pop Culture Contrarian podcast, brought to you by The Patriot Post. The Patriot Post is the oldest news, policy, and opinion digest on the web. It's right. It's free. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more Pop Culture Contrarian episodes. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.